salvage some of the remnants, and they also were not successful. So it just wasn't salvageable at that point.
One other one.
Sure.
On military assistance to Israel.
Mm-hmm.
We've seen the targeting of civilians and journalists in Gaza. That has.
Well, that's quite a ringtone, Mike.
That was him.
Okay.
It's also expanded beyond those borders. Yesterday, there was a group of Lebanese journalists targeted in the southern part of that country.
Yeah.
The reporters said that they had coordinated that trip with the Lebanese Armed Forces and the UN peacekeeping force in Lebanon. So, and this came about a month after a Reuters journalist was killed. They also say that was done by as a result of an Israeli strike. So what's the Pentagon doing to ensure or push the Israeli military on this aid that it's providing to make sure that it's not targeting civilians and specifically journalists?
Well, we certainly, I think you asked me this last time, and I'll reiterate that we believe that freedom of the press and protection of innocent civilians is incredibly important during this time, incredibly important when people are on the ground in Gaza reporting on what's happening on the ground. And then, as you mentioned, I think it was, you referenced Lebanon, where some of these journalists were stationed. Again, we are going to continue to urge for Israel to continue to uphold the laws of armed conflict, humanitarian laws. And again, we know that this is an incredible, burden's not the right word, but toll that it takes for journalists to cover what's happening on the ground, and it's incredibly important that their safety is protected. Yeah, in the back.
Yeah, so two-part question. The president said yesterday that hospitals in Gaza must be protected. Mm-hmm. Is the U.S. telling Israel not to attack hospitals or to shift the way it is operating at these sites? And then second, do you have any conclusive intelligence that these hospitals are legitimate military targets?
So we've been very clear with, I think you've seen in the readouts that the Secretary has had with Minister Gallant, that we believe that the protection of innocent civilians is, of course, not only a priority, but it must be upheld. And so you've seen in our readouts time and time again, that is something that the Secretary continues to emphasize with Minister Gallant in all of his calls. And you've seen that from not just this department, but across this administration. I think what Jake Sullivan said yesterday is exactly what we keep reiterating to our Israeli counterparts, is that we don't want to see a firefight in a hospital. We absolutely believe that hospitals should be places where people seeking medical treatment and attention need to be, and those places should be protected. But you have to remember that, and we do have information that Hamas and the Palestinian Islamic Jihad uses some hospitals in the Gaza Strip, including the Al-Shifa hospital, as a way to conceal and support their military operations and hold hostages. They have tunnels underneath these hospitals. And so Hamas and PIJ members operate a command and control node from Al-Shifa Hospital in Gaza City. They have weapons stored there and are prepared to respond to an Israeli military operation against the facility. So I'm just telling you what we as the intelligence community assesses is happening in Gaza City, how Hamas is using these hospitals to operate. But absolutely, we do not want to see a firefight in a hospital where there are innocent civilians. Fadi.
Thank you, Sabrina. So you said that you don't have any forces on the ground, right?
That's right.
So I take it this intelligence assessment is gathered based on information provided by Israel?
Sorry, what I just read out, that's from our intelligence community.
So did you have any assets inside Gaza?
We have no assets or boots on the ground in Gaza.
So there's no gathering on the ground about this?
That's right.
So you have no one entering the hospitals to verify this information, right?
We have no boots on the ground in Gaza.
So the question is, how was that assessment, how did you conclude that assessment based on information received from your Israeli counterparts?
Well, I'm not going to get into more specifics on how our intelligence is collected. What I can tell you is there are multiple agencies, as you know, here within the department and across the administration, multiple agencies that collect and assess and analyze intelligence, but I'm not going to go into any further details on how that intelligence is gathered.
You're confirming that you have no assets on the ground.